All right, so today we're doing Java 1 Lesson 4, and today we're learning about something called Booleans. Or at least you know what Booleans are. I'm just going deeper into detail with them. So a review. So as everyone hopefully recalls, we have talked about different data types. So of the data types that we talked about, Boolean was one of them. And if you remember, Boolean is true or false, basically. So for certain statements, Java will output either true or false, since we can't just use only true or false, right? We need to do something that can evaluate certain expressions. So right now, again, this is kind of like background information. In like 2 or 3 lessons, that's when Booleans become really important. So in later class, we're going to be using Booleans a lot more. Again, this is just like background information so that we can ease into it. So comparing Booleans. So there's 2 types of comparing like Booleans. One of them's like only for comparing Booleans. One of them is only for comparing numbers. So we're gonna go over like the comparing Booleans part first. So first you can see this symbol here, and this is the and sign. And I don't know how your computers are situated, but it's the one above the 7. So you do shift and the 7. That should give you these signs. So this returns true only when both sides of the expression evaluates the true. So I have some examples later on about what I mean by this. So you'll see more about how to use these. Just like try to understand and memorize why these evaluate, like why these are these. So second one we have is something like this. So this one, if you remember where the backslash is, it's the one right above it. So basically 2 straight lines. So this returns true if at least one side of the expression or value is true. So basically, if we had one side true and one side's false, it would evaluate to true. If one side was true and the other side was also true, then it would also evaluate to true. For this one, if true was on one side and false was on the other side, then it would evaluate to false. So for this and sign. Again, you'll see more like how to use it in a few more slides. There's also this sign, which is the caret sign. And you could also think of it as the exponent one, if you've ever done exponents online. And this is also referred to as the caret sign. So this one's above the 6 on your keyboards, usually. And this returns true if exactly one side of the expression evaluates the true. And then last one, we have the exclamation mark. And this returns true if the argument is false. So these are called truth value tables, and these show a bit, it shows all the combinations for one symbol and then shows what it evaluates to. So this is kind of helping you to more understand exactly how this goes. So first one we can see, again, it's the and sign. You can see that if we have true and true, then it evaluates to true. If we have true and false, that evaluates to false, since it has to have 2 truths, right? But it doesn't. So that's why it evaluates to false. False and true, false, false, false equals false. All right, the 2 straight lines one. So you can see that true and true, they go to true. True and false, they go to true, since remember, it has to have at least one true. So since it has at least one here, then it's valued to true, unlike over here. This one's false true, it's also true, and then false false is false. For the caret symbol, you have true and true. It evaluates to false, since remember, this caret symbol means that you have to have exactly one. And in this case, we have 2, so that doesn't apply, like it doesn't pass with this symbol. So it evaluates to false. True caret false evaluates to true, since there's exactly one. False and true evaluates to true. False and false evaluates to false. And you can see over here this kind of strange one from all the rest. How it's used is like it goes in front of the Boolean. So you can see here that exclamation mark true equals false, exclamation mark false equals true. So basically just the opposite of whatever it's next to. Yeah, so again, if you understand what these symbols do, you don't have to memorize these at all. So as long as you understand what these symbols do, then there's no need for these truth value tables. This is just to like illustrate a little bit more about how these are placed and also just how they work. All right, comparing numbers. So I mentioned that another thing that you do is comparing numbers, since you can't just only compare Booleans, right? You have to get somewhere with it. So first one is the equals equals, and this returns true if both sides are true. So this can also be used with Booleans as well. So you could do true equals equals true. That would evaluate to true. If you did true equals equals false, that would evaluate to false. This is under the comparing numbers title as well, is because it can also do with numbers. So if you did 5 equals equals 5, that would return true. If you did 6 equals equals 7, that would return false. So that kind of thing. Again, I'm going to show you more examples of how this works in a second. Anyways, moving on. So exclamation mark equals. So it only returns true if the sides are not equal to each other. Again, this can be used with Booleans as well. It works basically the same as this one, except it's different with the conditions. And the rest of these, you guys should all be pretty familiar with it, since it's taught in regular math as well. So I don't think I need to go over too much. It's all the same in Java. The only two I don't know if you guys might know is the less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. Again, so you can read this on yourself, but I'm pretty sure you guys should all know this if you have done like, I don't know when they teach it. As long as you've done like pre-algebra, I'm pretty sure you should know it. So anyways, less than or equal to returns true if the right side of the equation is greater than or equal to the left side of the equation. Okay, that's a little bit weird. Yeah, but you can understand this, I hope. I'm not going to go over too much. I'm going to give you some time to read it. Right, moving on. Okay, so examples of using the Boolean symbols. So these include examples for all of the ones we saw before. So for this first one over here, we have in parentheses first, 5 is less than 4, which of course it's not less than 4, so that evaluates to false. And then we have over here 5 equals 5, and that evaluates to true since they are equal. So we have a true here and we have a false here. And this symbol, if you remember, states that it has to have at least one that evaluates to true. So since we have one here, then it evaluates to true. And notice here that you have to make sure that you're including it in parentheses, or else it's going to like make some error with it. Since remember this symbol can't compare numbers, right? So if you didn't have any if you didn't have any Booleans here, then you'd have an error with that, since but just make sure, since Java follows the PEMDAS, which is order of operations, then just make sure that you're putting what has to be in parentheses. Anyways, moving down to the bottom. So over here we have 6 is greater than or equal to 7, and that's not true, of course. So that's false. In this case, if you ever encounter a problem like this where there's only like 2 sides of it, then in this case, you can just automatically say it's false. Since if you know that this one's false, then of course, whatever the second one is, it doesn't matter, since the only thing that matters is this and sign. And like the first side, really. So automatically it's false. The thing with this is that if it's not only like these two expressions and there was more than that, then you would have to consider all of it since you don't know exact output then. But when it's only one, like two sides and you already know that this is false, then you can automatically rule out the second one and just say it's false. Over here, so you have 5 is not equal to 6, which is true since they're not equal to each other. And then we have exclamation mark false, which is values to true since remember it's opposite. So this is true and this is also true, which evaluates to false since remember this has to have exactly 1. And there's 2 trues, so that comes out to a false. So just note that true and false are lowercase. Java has it in lowercase, so when you're writing stuff like this in Java, make sure that you're spelling with a lowercase f and a lowercase true. Otherwise, you're going to come up with an error. Yeah, that's it for this lesson. Short lesson again, but it's background information. It's pretty important since you can't teach everything in like one lesson for the later classes. So easy lesson. There'll be class problems in a second. All right, so these are the class problems. So again, this time it's the students who are creating the problems. So these are all student created problems. I didn't put the names here since case of privacy, but I'll be adding them on and then giving credit to them at least. So yeah, these are all the problems they created. Have a look at them, do some of the problems just so that you're familiar with them and you know how to finish and accomplish the problems. There's always my problems that I have on the class problems list, so you can always go back to that and look at that. Otherwise, I don't think there's much of anything else to say. It's an easy lesson, but it's still important for future stuff since you're going to be using it a lot in Java. Otherwise, that'd be it for this lesson.